Hi, folks. Welcome to the WPL morning show. I'd rather say afternoon show because it's 12 noon, and I have Nikhil join me. If you missed last night's game, don't worry because in this live stream, we will talk all things, all major talking points. When you watch the highlights, it will sort of put things in perspective. I hope because the fact that Gujarat Giants was able to hold their nerve and pull off a win right just by 3 runs, we have witnessed yet another thriller in the WPL till the very last ball. Momentum swung back and forth. And Sophie Devine, right, yet again led from the front with a true all-round performance. And Delhi too, right, to their credit, was able to put in a stunning fight back, but somehow it just wasn't enough again. I think Avinash's comment here pretty much sums things up, like Delhi chokers versus Gujarat gamblers. Like it's been that sort of a season, right, for both the teams. But yeah, Nikhil, let's actually break down this match, from the start itself by getting your thoughts on the game itself, right? Like, were you glued onto the screen just to see, Delhi win, but then Gujarat just comes out of syllabus and pockets 2 points there?
I think I need to make this a ritual. Sophie Devine, may Divine bless us all, because I don't think anybody could have summed this season better than Sophie Devine. She gives 23 runs in her penultimate over, but then comes back to just defend it, just like normal. Because it's not that she's bowling to different batters, same set of batters, but she finds a way. So maybe all find our way, like how Divine has found a way for Gigi. And what an incredible game of cricket! Overall, I had for a long time I was feeling very. I'm still feeling bad for Niki and Sneh, because I feel they are great talents. They are not quite used well for India and DC in that particular manner. But if I think about it from a bit behind, I think Gujarat did more things right in terms of winning those big moments. There was no business for Gujarat to get 170 odd. It was Tanuja Kanwar who got them that with a very good flourish, 21 of 11. That, and then of course they almost sealed the deal when they had Delhi tottering at the stage. So yes, Nikki played well. I'm very happy for her that she's finally able to showcase what she can do. But the fact of the matter remains, I put out that tweet. We'll get to that later. In terms of Delhi's seniors are letting the team down, as simple as that.
Yeah, I think we will talk about it in the course of our discussion as well, right? Because Delhi, I think we were all raving, right, about the kind of auction they had and how they got a lot of things right. But clearly, it's not, percolating as much and displaying in their
Yeah.
performances too. But Delhi, again, they sort of won the toss and they chose to field first, right? Just
Yeah.
based on the Vadodara surface and the recent trends. Again, Nikhil, do you think that was the right call and something that was, anyways, going to happen?
So I think it's just become a very I don't want to say it like that, but it just become an easy way out for teams. We don't want to put too much pressure on our batting, and Delhi's strength right now isn't their batting. That is safe to say. They do come back into the game thanks to some crazy performances, but their bowling remains their better suit, and that too three players. That is Marizan Ka, Sri Charni, and Nandini. So, basis on those 12 overs, you are assuming that they'll get the job done, which is how they you would feel they began as well. Marizan Kaap bowled. The only thing Divine got wrong was the bad luck when Marizan Kaap bowled that pitch to her, because till that time it felt, oh, okay, this is good. But then Anushka Sharma came in. So I don't think Delhi would have done anything different in terms of toss. Uh, Changes also there weren't much, so you couldn't do much. And of course, very interesting that Devine went back to opening. She just played a decent knock against UP in the middle order. So Gujarat had to make that change, because supposedly everybody's getting ill and injured. I have no clue what is happening in the WPL. Danny White Hodge got injured a day before. Nicola Carey got unwell. So I hope everybody's fit and fine. So on the toss, I think I wouldn't have expected anything else. Gujarat wanted to bat first. They were more than happy to put a score and defend.
Yeah, because at one stage you really felt, Gujarat would have struggled, right? Because early on too, they lost Sophie Devine inside the first 3 overs. As you rightly pointed out, Marizan Kaap giving them that sort of a perfect start. Now, again,
Yeah.
how important do you think was Beth Mooney's tempo, right? And sort of stabilizing the innings, seeing that they had, something on the board there?
Yeah, this is the first time we saw Beth Mooney play Beth Mooney knock. in terms of constantly getting the boundaries. And I personally felt she was helped by Anushka, and she was also, in my opinion, helped by some poor bowling from Delhi, because all Anushka got was width on the offside, or balls on the pads, which she was more than happy to just flick away to the boundary. So I think Delhi would have wanted more discipline from again one of their seniors. Sinel Henry will get to her in terms of how she's important to that setup, but right now Alana King seems to be screaming out loud that why would you not want to pick her? She's someone who can give you batting runs as well. I don't want to do the Adil Rashid thing where we say she has runs in domestic cricket. We all know that. There is no need to go back to that stage. But I think they needed a bit more control. They are missing that the third pacer role. Cheryl Henry, when there is swing, she's fine. But otherwise, it allowed Beth Mooney and Anushka to stitch a partnership, and then they were going great guns because they were 19 for 1 in 2.2, and they were 73 for 2 when Anushka finally got out. And Anushka again was dropped a ball earlier, only to be gotten caught the next ball. And even that you feel maybe she took a risk too many, but 73 odd in 9 overs after being 19 for 1 in 3, that is a very good recovery and plenty of boundaries, and that's what Beth Mooney and Anushka are known for.
Yeah, because I was actually going to get to that partnership itself, right? Beth Mooney and Anushka Sharma, they stitched a partnership of what, 54 coming of just 33 balls, which I think it would be fair to say, right? Change the rhythm of the power play and the middle overs, especially for Gigi. Now, again, what do you think, Nikhil, they did right against DC's bowling plans and sort of just set them off for a little bit?
I think Mooney helped them a lot. Once Anushka got the start, then all Mooney needed was, and she's very good at maneuvering the field from the crease, because you can see she moves away to loft, she comes down to get the boundary down. So I think it was a very Beth Mooney like knock where she's sitting and she's getting one down the leg side. So you have to bowl well to get Beth Mooney out, and you have to get her early. We've seen that almost multiple times in her cricket career. If you don't get Beth Mooney out early, you will have to create a mistake from her, and that, unfortunately for them, that mistake came after she's gotten a 50. So I think Gujarat would take a lot of confidence, because if they get one more win and they make it to the playoffs, which they should most likely, Beth Mooney in form is very, very important. So it will just help reduce the pressure on Sophie. And if you have Anushka, and remember, Gardner is due. So I think it will just ease the pressure on the captain, that one good day for Ashley Gardner, and then they are just a win away from lifting the trophy. So I think Beth Mooney was very important, and Anushka Sharma just helped her get into that rhythm of getting boundaries, because she has 7 boundaries in her 58. And that is how Beth Mooney functions usually.
Yeah, and it's always amazing to see, Beth Mooney be amongst the runs. Again, a lot of people sort of claim she's not the most aesthetically pleasing batter, but, sort of still gets her job done. And that's how
Yeah.
gritty she is. And Nikhil, here probably we can also talk about Anushka Sharma, right? She's already a front runner for the emerging player of the season, has given us enough reasons.
Yeah.
Last night too, right? Again, her knock, 39 coming of just 25 balls. It really stood out, right? Not just because of the intent, but the way she was just, maneuvering the field and getting the ball, just to areas where you'd not normally see fielders as well. Now, how crucial was that knock, right, in pushing Gigi, especially in the middle overs? And a part of you hoped that she would sort of carry on and maybe score her maiden half century.
Yeah, I definitely see her anyways making her maiden half century for India in this very year. Hopefully that happens, because she looks ready. I don't think I've seen a better uncapped option right now, or even before this, in terms of how ready she is. I think the last person I felt like that for was Shefali. So after that, I feel Anushka is almost ready to be given a chance, and if not now, then when? That's the point of the WPL. So the best part, as you rightly said, she was finding areas that the bowlers will then scratch their heads. Where do we bowl to her? Because she's getting the cover drive out, she's getting a clip right, she's decent enough to access mid wicket. Now, where do you bowl? What is left for you to challenge her? And she's decent against the new ball bowling that she faced from Marizan. So I don't want to put any mockers on her. Let us just continue and don't even want to dissect into, oh, maybe they can get her with a nice bouncer and nahin, nahin. Let her score, because people like her, Niki Prasad, these are the things that we need to see from the WPL. We spoke about this a while back as well. The next batch of players have to be more ready, and Anushka seems far more than ready to me. And as you said, more also in terms of how she is at the crease, in terms of the confidence that you get when you see her play, that she knows what she is doing. So wherever you want to hit, she has options, and you can't ask for anything more from a young batter.
Absolutely, and she's giving us a lot of reasons to sort of get excited about, and hopefully that India debut happens sometime soon. And live chat,
Yeah.
we do see your comments coming in, probably in the Delhi Capitals batting side of things. We'll definitely bring it up. And just as you felt, Nikhil, that the match was like getting steady for Gujarat, they were what 73 for two, and you felt they could probably accelerate from there. Suddenly, you find this team struggling at 131 for six. They lost what 4 wickets in quick succession. I think credit here to the way DC was just going about their bowling.
Yeah.
Massive credit to Sri Charni and Minu Mani, Chanel Henry again chipping in with wickets there. So again, for you, when you sort of look at that phase in hindsight, like was it more about just DC bowling well, sort of learning and adapting from their mistakes, or did you just think GG was losing momentum themselves and it was always going to be a train coming crashing down?
Uh, See there, that's where I feel I am again going to be a bit harsh, and I feel the as Gardner shot was uncalled for, because I think Beth Mooney was going really fine. She had just gotten a good over the previous one, and for her to come down, I understand Minu Mani is your matchup, but you're just 3 balls into the game. Just give yourself a bit more time. And we've seen Ashley Gardner play and accelerate like nobody. And again, I'm not comparing her with Laura Wolford or Jamie, where I'm asking them to take 15 balls. No, take 5 6 balls. Just get used to the deck, and then you go for the boundary option first rather than looking to get the big six, because Minumani has bowled well in the last game as well. She got them a couple of wickets at the right time. She got Stefali, she got Smriti Mandana and Richa Ghosh. So it's not that you can just go after her. So that's where I felt Gardner just pushed Gigi back, because it meant that they had to then recalibrate. And then Wareham got a boundary, but then Chanani came back and got her bowled. And if you saw, it was almost a theme. So many people played cross-batted shots and got bowled. Gardner did that, Georgia Wareham did that, and when Delhi were batting, Delhi did the same mistake. So it almost felt as if more premeditated shots than reacting to what you are facing. But uh, that can happen. I'm slightly a bit disappointed with uh, Bharati as well, because I felt that big knock is not coming. This is your chance now. You are in the setup. You want to just make the most of these chances. She's had a couple of chances now with the bat where she hasn't come off. Yes, the ball from Chanel Henry was very good, but that's what you expect the seniors or the more experienced players to get an answer to. So I think Delhi were very smart to pull it back, because they were 96 for 3 in the 11 in the 12th over, and then they were 139 for 7 when Kashfi Gautam got out. But then from 139 for 7 to give them 174, that's where I feel the game was lost.
Yeah, valid point there, Nikhil. And here's probably where we can even spotlight an amazing bowling performance, that of Sri Charni herself, right?
Yeah.
4 for 31. Undoubtedly, had to be the standout spell, right? Because she took the crucial wickets of Anushka Sharma, Georgia Wareham, Kashvi Gautam, and later even Kanika Ahuja. So, what do you think, sort of just made her so effective on that surface? Again, just reminding us, that, hey, like I'm still here. I probably didn't start the season that well, but I can still get those wickets, timely ones.
Yeah, I really love her change of pace and being able to being accurate with her length, because you see most of those wickets now. Anushka, she had her caught at mid off, she then it dropped, and then she got her with a slog sweep that Anushka found the fielder in Minumani. Then the way she gets Varium is different. She's holding the length back a bit. Good. That's just the perfect spot. I don't want to put name, but I feel she's India's answer to Sophie Devine. That is very high standards that I'm putting her at, but she has all those materials, because yes, she does go short at times, but if she gets that good length at the right pace, she's very difficult to put away. That's what Kanika also found out, because she came down yet she missed and she was plumb in front of the stump. So I think it's the control and the lack of pace and the room that you don't get with Charani. Because remember in the previous game when Beth Mooney was playing Charani, Beth Mooney had to come down while giving a room, and she still got caught and bowled by Sri Charani. So it tells you that she's accurate and she's getting the length right, which means the batter always has to feel that I need to do something to get her off the mark. And that I think is the biggest compliment anybody can give to a bowler, that she's able to make the batter err even before she started bowling. So that I feel is very good. And may that continue for her, because India needs a left-hand spinner who's taking wickets.
Yeah, a lot of positives in that regard because we've seen how the team management can be very, for the lack of a better word, I'd say recluse, with left arm spinners and sort of throw them out of the system or just, keep having that whole musical chair sort of situation. But Sri Charni has given us enough reasons to, continue that, unstinted faith in her. And just as it felt like, Gigi was probably looking at a subpar total, maybe a 140 or a 150, so to say. Tanuja Kanwar, right, just absolutely comes out of syllabus, marking her return to the playing 11, a late cameo, right, 21 of 11. It really lifted, right, Gigi to a very competitive 174, which eventually proved to be very decisive. Again, Nikhil, if you had to look at those final 2-3 overs in just the context of the chase itself, like how important was that, right? How decisive was that?
That was the game changer. And again, one of the reasons, one of my pet peeves, that Shannon Henry cannot be bowling the last over. I know she's done that for different leagues, for different teams, but it's not her fault. Let's get it out of the way. You have to be able to use your resources in a way, or you have to plan better, or just doff your hat and say, well, Tanuja will get them with the bat. Unfortunately, that did not happen. And Tanuja just found the fence almost so easily. You did not even feel like she's trying so hard and she's, scooping, doing this, that, and getting those runs. No, she was the very first ball she faced from Sri Charni. She came down, hacked it for a four. Okay, that is what I'm here for. And we've seen her do that before already. So, if I'm not wrong, she was sent earlier than other batters, and she did hit a six in the previous game, if I'm not wrong, coming down the ground. So, if you take anybody lightly right now, that's what Gigi also experienced eventually, but they had enough on the board. And who gave them enough? Tanuja Kanwar. So, I'm very happy that we are seeing more Indian batters load on the order who are able to find the gaps. Yes, it is while batting first. Hopefully, in the future times, when somebody needs 5 from 4, they will find that boundary and close the game out. But that's the next step of this progress. But for now, I'm very happy that we have people like Arundhati Reddy. We've had Tanuja Kanwar come in and chip in with a few boundaries. Indian cricket as a whole needs more such people to be able to get those boundaries. If you're coming in for 1 over, try and be the differential. Sri Lanka gave 15 runs in the last over. They lost by 3.
Yeah,
And
I
again,
think
and it is not to set batter. Again, the point here is it's not that she gave those runs to a Beth Mooney or a Georgia Wareham or a Sophie Devine who were set. A new batter is coming. You haven't quite got your plans right.
Yeah, I think as you rightly pointed out, having pinch hitters like this, bowlers who can chip
Yeah.
in a little with the bat, it's a bonus to have, right? And the more the league, sort of nurtures and has players like this blossom, it only augurs well going ahead. So as you rightly said, fingers crossed, and hopefully we can see a
Yeah.
lot more of that. But Nikhil, let's probably also get your quick thoughts on Delhi's overall bowling effort. I know we did take a moment to talk about Marizan Kaap, how good she was with her new ball spell. We did talk about Sri Charni as well. Chanel Henry clearly cannot be the answer for their death bowling, I'd say concerns right now. But the rest of the bowling too, right? Nandini Sharma pocketed a wicket, continued to retain her purple cap. But Sneh Rana,
Yeah.
Minu Mani again, just if you had to reflect on their bowling too.
I think otherwise they were pretty much fine. Maybe Marizan Kaap's last over came a bit too early, but again, you can understand she Jamie went by the same logic she went in the previous game. You get back your senior most bowler, look to take a wicket, and they were smart to understand, let's not give her that. And once that was done, you knew the writing was on the wall, and Sri Charni had to take those 4 wickets. Otherwise, the score would have been 190 plus. So I think Minu Mani was also very good, 3 overs for 23. She had an expensive last over, but that is, you will sometimes get hit for runs, but she still went at sevens. Sneh Rana bowled 1 over, and that's where I feel again it's not her fault. You want Teams want to carry 6, 7 bowling options for this very reason, that you can try and rotate people here and there, because in that entire bowling lineup, the two experienced players have gone for the most amount of economy rate. You had Sunil Henry going at 9.5 and Marizan Kaap going at 8.5. Everybody else who bowled more than 1 over was had an economy of less than 8. So it just tells you sometimes even the best may not be good enough. And it was just Tanuja Kanwa's last over, in my opinion, in the bowling that they got really wrong. They gave away 15-20 too many. And because it makes a difference for a bowling side, for a batting side who's then going to bowl, you're trying to defend 150 and you suddenly have 174. I know momentum is a silly word, but you have that confidence that this is enough. This can be defended, and we've seen that Vadodara. Yes, 200 is being scored. Can be scored, and the batting is getting easier comparatively. But if you get early wickets, you are always in the game, and that's what Delhi eventually found out.
Yeah, all valid points there, and hopefully there is some introspection on the part of Delhi, right? Again, you'll have to probably blame a little bit of their auction strategy and how they went about with, purchase of certain players, trying to beef up their batting while it was the bowling that sort of needed the attention. But again, just sort of pivoting our conversation to Delhi's run chase itself, it again started with a lot of intent, right? You would expect that with Shefali Verma and Lizelle, but they lost early wickets, which really, was always going to make things complicated. Now, how much do you think, Nikhil, the dismissals of Shefali Verma and Lizelle just hurt DC's power play plans? And do you think that sort of set precedent for the rest of the batting?
I mean, the aggressive start was just the first over, right? I mean, that's just Renuka's first over. She went for 16, and again, she bowled only 1 over. And she is India's preferred option, so to say. Again, no other player is what I'm going after, but 2 overs for 26, that's a good start. But then I have no clue why would Shefali want to go cross batted. It is a power play, the field is up, the world is your oyster. But sometimes this is where that now Shefali has had so many starts right through the season, but she hasn't won a game by herself yet. And again, I'm not saying it is only her responsibility, but the point is, in such chases, you want that 40-50 early, and that's why you have a Shefali and a Lizelle up top, because you want that intent from them and a big score. Set it up with a nice 30-40 so that, we spoke about this in the previous video as well, that you have two people at 3 and 4 who will take their time. For them to take time, you need a platform. Unfortunately, the platform was never set up by Delhi, and I felt very disappointed watching Lizelle. Again, I'm going to be very honest. I don't know what people expect from her. She's going to win you a game all by herself, and she's already done that. Fair job. 11 of 20 in a chase of 174 is for what is to follow. The problem is the combination. So that is what I tweeted out yesterday as well. That you look at that experienced core of Delhi. What Lizelle, Jemmy, and Laura combined, how much pressure was put on Niki and Sneh then? They combined for 59 balls and they scored just 51 runs. They could not get the ball off, to the fence. And I understand it gradually got better, but then you are more experienced. That is the point of view batting at the top of the other, so that you can start and find answers and set the game up. So I felt Rajeshwari Gaikwad was great because she firstly got Shefali out at the right time. And Lizelle, Sophie Devine coming up and getting two massive wickets, because you see those top four was dismantled by Gaikwad and Devine. Devine got Lizelle out, and then Gaikwad comes, and I think Laura got out later. But Jemmy, you've gotten out to Devine in the same manner in the previous game. You ended up playing the same shot and you've gotten out bowled. I don't know what to say. I'll go a bit harsh, so I'll just refrain from speaking now.
Yeah, I think it was one of those, sort of bizarre batting performances from Delhi. Like, as you rightly said, you'd expect, right, the top order to sort of deliver the goods and, set the tone. But then the pressure invariably just end up falling a lot on that lower middle order. I think here's where we can take a few comments as well, where Avinash earlier in our conversation added that I'm so happy for Meg Lanning. If the same would have happened in her captaincy, then, people would sort of blame her. Now we know it was not Lanning, and probably more, of like systemic issues that are already present.
Yeah.
Avinash also goes on to add that Lizelle and Jemima inflated the run rate first, playing tuk-tuk, and then got out playing poor shots. Very ordinary shot selection. A harsh criticism there, but we sort of see where he's coming from. And then probably what is a little bit of a setback for, like UP Warriors, Litchfield has been ruled out of the tournament. So Amy Jones has been announced as the replacement. I think this was a reference to Nikhil mentioning, how the WPL has been marred by injuries and, people falling sick, which is, again, not how you'd want it to be, but, it sort of is the situation. I think here's where there's a valid question. Hi, Nikhil. Why? What's the reason that DC batters played too many cross batted shots when the run rate is 9.5 and the current run rate is 8.5? Is that like a mindset issue? So, again, Nikhil, like, how would you address this about how DC just went about with their run chase?
I don't want to be harsh, but it almost feels like they're all waiting for somebody else to do it. In terms of Shefali will hopefully do it, Lizelle will hopefully do it. Otherwise, Laura and Jamie, they will go at the rate that they've gone all season, and it is not fathomable. We spoke about this in the last two videos as well. We gave a previous match example as well, where both of them were going at the exact same rate. Yesterday also, one has got on at a strike rate of 100, others got on at the strike rate of 104. In a chase where you are chasing almost 9 runs per over, you cannot be going at 6. It doesn't make any sense for you to wait for the big shot, because eventually your release shot is going to be a cross batted shot. You are bound to take a risk which is not going to work in your favor. And if you felt the surface was difficult to get going, then you made the wrong call at the toss. So either you are not reading the conditions well, or you are not prepared enough to take on the opposition bowling. And it's not that they got out to youngsters. They got out to Gaikwad and Devine, and you know what you get from them. So to me, it was the top order Marazan Cup. I mean, she came and she went 0 of 1. There is not much to do. But the entire top order has to collectively just own up to the fact that they've let down the team multiple times, whether it is closing the game out, because Delhi had no business coming close in this game. Whatever has happened after this has happened because of Niki Prasad's brilliance, and we'll speak about how she got those runs as well, because therein lies the answer, that they did not have to go for those cross-batted shots.
Yeah, very true. Because the way Nikki was, just maneuvering again the field and playing very conventional shots, right? Wasn't too flashy, but was still able to get the job done. There's definitely a lot of positives you can take, which I think even Avinash goes on to say that, Nikki Prasad ne bataya sabko that scoop is not the only boundary shot. You can find boundaries with conventional shots, and hopefully it serves as a cautionary tale, for the rest of the batting unit as well. Also, Shravan going on to say that it's painful to see Smriti and Jenny get dismissed in a similar fashion. Both of them, with Smriti and her struggles against offspin being apparent, and Jenny, getting dismissed. Again, a very bizarre fashion, sort of, reflecting that point. But here, Nikhil, I again want to take a moment to talk about Rajeshwari Gaikwad, right? The fact that Rajeshwari Gaikwad's performances have been, taking an upward swing has also resulted in, Gujarat performing so well. Another underrated spell, right? 3 for 20. She applied serious pressure, right? Especially in those mid overs, reminding us of the first reason, right? Why she, sort of broke into that Indian setup. Like, again, do you think it was very, like a very defining bowling performance from her that ensured that Gigi was again on the right side of the result?
And I think the venue also suits her bowling type, because if you compare the two bowlers who did well, they are both slightly slower at times, and they find the right spot more than enough. Sri Charani and Rajeshwari Gaikwad. Not a like for like comparison, of course, but you can see the mold there where there is some smartness, some guile, and you can see people falling into the trap of, oh, I will slog this across the line and get away with it, but it doesn't happen. So almost similar kind of dismissals for Verem and Wolvart in that sense, and then you have a Shefali and Anushka getting out, trying to hit across the line. So it feels good that finally they are using. One of the criticisms that I had for Gigi earlier was them not using the Indian options more. The previous game that they faced against Delhi, even they rather other Richa Ghosh, then you don't bowl your two left-arm spinners. That is that was RCB. I still think for some reason that Radha is with Delhi. Sorry, but the game was against the RCB band. So it is good to see the camp also recognize that this was an area where we got it wrong, and they are quick to learn about it. So I think that is a good spot for Gigi to be in, and Gaikwad again, a senior pro. That is what you are in the team for. You see, Tanuja Kanwar hasn't been able to do it with the ball because she's not gotten the opportunity, but she's doing enough to ensure that whenever she gets an opportunity with the bat, she's making it count. So I think that is what you look for from the seniors. And if you see the teams that are on the top, they've had the seniors chip in, but the teams who are struggling, they've had the seniors not turning up so far. So again, it's a good, very fair story of the WPL so far.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a valid observation, right? That has been the case for so many teams where their senior pros just haven't gotten going. It's again not like, sort of throwing people under the bus or like
Yeah,
scapegoating them, but it's a team sport, right? You'd rather expect all of them to step up and do their thing. Because when you again look at the Laura Wolfart and Jemima Rodriguez batting phase, right? It was steady, but it was really slow. It definitely left a lot, right, for the back end itself. Then you saw wickets falling back to back. Shinel Henry, Marizan Cup, all of them getting dismissed. And at one
yeah.
stage, Delhi is like really staring down the barrel, right? 100 for six after 14.3 overs. The game looked right. It was done and dusted. And that's where you had Niki Prasad and Sneh Rana, right? Stitch what was a very defining partnership again. Nikhil, talk us through that, right? Again, this is a very unlikely duo you'd sort of expect Delhi to, reach safely across to the shore, but they sort of again infused, right, some sort of momentum and positivity in that run chase.
And both of them, they played their shots. They did not go for those dinky laps and stuffs, which is difficult to take off when you don't get the pace on the surface. You look at that entire over of uh, whether you go to Sneh Rana or whether you go to Niki Prasad hitting boundaries of Sophie Devine. What did she do? She just maneuvered the field whenever she felt okay, full. I'll just go straight. Okay, there is width. I'll just give myself some room, go over covers. Then I'll guide one to third man. These are less risky shots, very effective shots, and you are playing a shot that you know. Sneh Rana, she's done that before. She did that against UP last year, where she hit the living daylights out of Deepti Sharma. ठीक है, fair. We will say, अरे one shot coming down mid wicket, but at least she is not doubting and she's going wholeheartedly for the shot and she's giving it her all, which is sometimes you want to see from your senior pros that this is your job. You have to set it up for them to finish. Here, Nikki and Sneh had to make the game and then had to close the game, which is something. It's those two are the only people I feel bad for in that entire Delhi camp right now, along with Sri Chenny, because they 60 from 4 and they got it down to 5 from 4, and all of that was basis some really smart gameplay by both Sneh and Nikki, that different areas to access where the field is not there. But it just feels as if all of this is a very peculiar phenomena where you feel that okay, when the target is too far, they are all very confident, but the moment you get closer, it almost feels as if the pressure may be getting to them or them not being able to just execute that well. So that is hopefully a bridge that is still a good learning curve for them. But I'm more than happy to see Niki Prasad do something like this, because I mean, this should already give a lot of confidence to the top order that don't worry, because if we mess up like we have been any which ways, they could still recover. But that should not mean that they get a free license to just hack around and be 10 of 20 types.
Yeah, and here's probably where, we can actually take like a proper moment to talk about Niki Prasad, right? Her knock, 47 coming of just 24 balls. Fair to say again, it completely flipped the ranches. This again, mind you, coming from a player who played domestic cricket and had, sort of mixed returns, right? For scoring runs, but again, the strike rate was something that was constantly coming under the scanner. I think I've myself, spoken about her batting too low in that batting order, and, does she even like merit to place because of that? And can DC probably play an extra bowler because of how underutilized she was? Nikhil, again, like what do you think, sort of stood out in just her approach, the way she was playing pace and spin, showing the maturity that so many other players just couldn't, right?
Yeah, and to me, the clarity of thought in terms of, so that's what I was just confirming, where you look at the boundary shots that she had. Although she was 7 of 6, and her first shot was also deft touch, where she was down on one knee and she got a boundary at fine leg. And then when Gardner comes back, now Henry is dismissed. She comes back and she gets all those boundaries through the offside. Every single one of them, that is her game. She knew the field was up. She was able to find a way to just get the gap. And sometimes cricket can be so simple, right? where you are saying, okay, this is my strength. I can go through the offside. Let me do that. One boundary, second boundary, third boundary. And suddenly you feel the opponent is under far more pressure. So I'm more than happy to see more of this coming forward, because very happy with the clarity of thought. Again, I can't get my mind off it, because you see, that is what disrupted Shefali, that's what disrupted Lizelle, that's what disrupted Laura Fulford, where they were like, let us just go cross batted. She was not going cross batted. She went cross batted only when the ball was short enough for her to pull. And she was very fair, confident, this I'll be able to pull it off. Only then she went. And she was not even too far from the ball. So uh, for somebody that young to be able to pull out something like that, it is a very good sign once again for both Delhi and for India. But more of this. More of this. Take lessons not for Niki Prasad, for Jamie and Laura, that go a bit more earlier. Give them a better chance to succeed, because imagine just 10, 15 runs, 20 runs less, and Niki Prasad is able to close a game out like that. That will give her the world of confidence that, wow, I was able to pull this off. So, of course, it could have still happened from five, from four, from five, but see what happened with Richa when she was not able to close the game out. I'm hoping this is the game that Nikki Prasad remembers all her life, that I could not close this game out, but aaj ke baad, every single game I'll find a way to close it out. So hopefully that is how I would want her to raise her standards. And then, as you said, we can maybe see her higher up the order as well.
Yeah, I think she's really made a case for herself, right? To be that sort of a dependable batter that Delhi can really bank on, rather than keeping her as low as, probably that 6, 7, 8 that they're using her. And I think briefly too, right? Because of the way Nikki is just going about her craft, a lot of Delhi fans had hoped that, this game
Yeah.
could probably be theirs. And that's when Sophie Devine, right, returned at the death, finished with 4 wickets, totally in that spell of hers. Nikhil, like, how massive was that performance, right? The leadership and execution, especially in those pressure overs. You feel like the match is slipping away, and Sophie Devine, once again, divine intervention comes to the rescue, so to say.
And I don't want to talk about this part. This is the part where it hurts, because 29 from 12, and Sneh Rana goes hammer and tongs at Gardner, and you get 20 runs from that over. And for some reason, Divine still feels that she let the captain down. But you went for 23, she went for 20. There is hardly much to choose between you two right now. And everybody knew that Divine would bowl the last over. Now, 9 from 6, no hindsight, but I felt the first ball was massive in that last over, because the sheer amount of leap years that the third umpire took to decide, okay, Sneh Rana was not out. It completely robbed Delhi of any momentum they had garnered after a 20 run over. And it may not sound right, but eventually you have to feel that vibe when you are scoring runs. The bowler is under pressure. You want to bowl quick. You want to keep batting because you are in that flow. And when you have a break as big as that, you cannot really get that vibe, get that momentum back, because now the bowler has gotten a clear time to have a nice calm down, regather your thoughts, regather your field, and be very sure, okay, this is what I want to execute. So invariably, maybe it was not out that helped uh, Gujarat more than it did Delhi, because even from there, 7 from 5, and they bowl a wide, it comes down to 3. And then Sneh Rana wants to swipe, she fails. She nails the pull shot straight to the fielder. The last 2 balls, कुछ नहीं. I feel bad for Niki, because uh, you can imagine, right? Everybody in that stadium felt 5 from 4, and the first thought was, what? Surely not. And that's not a good place to be. Dude, you cannot do this again. And that is coming from a place of fear, and that should ideally be replaced by 5 from 4. This is done. So this is where the bridge has to come for capitals, that they go from these line of thought, where again, to put a reference, we often say this jokingly for South Africa. If any team can lose from here, it is South Africa. You do not want to get into that habit, because the next time they get to that stage, this should not be the first thought that comes to their mind. So hopefully, it is something that they will take care of. That we knew what options we picked, and they did not come off. And maybe it is Sophie Devine's here, for all we know. Maybe this is destiny. Because how do you win two games defending 6 runs and 8 runs here unless you are destined to, maybe if they are going to beat RCB, who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, I think all the RCB fans clearly would have left the stream after that
Yeah.
statement of Nikhil's. But in all fairness, love to see a performance like that coming in from an absolute veteran, right? Sophie Devine reeks of experience and can, any given time change things in her own right. But let's take a few comments here, from our live chat. Shravan just asking us early on, like, which WPL side is looking more balanced and settled after playing 7 games each? I think for a lot of us, the predictions that we did make pre-season is clearly not working out the way it did. So, Nikhil, how's it coming for you, right? The predictions you made and the kind of analysis you had pre-season and the way the season's gone by after 7 games. Like, your thoughts on the same?
Yeah, I think two people have swapped places, and that is GG and UP, and that is purely down to Sophie Devine because they won 2 games they had no business winning. Uh, so that is one. I didn't expect DC to do well because I felt Sutherland was too big a player for them to replace. And when they replaced her with Alana King, and see, I have all the time in the world for aggressive batters, but Lizelle Lee, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that buy. It's okay. And why I don't agree with that buy? Because what it makes Laura and Jamie do. You already want Jamie to be at 3, and you want Laura to open, but you already have Shefali, and you take another opener. It's not helping you out. So to me, if I had to order, I had DC probably at 5 post the injury. So that's where I feel DC might eventually end up unless UP want to challenge them. 4 is where I felt GG were, because I felt GG, and I still feel vindicated that they are still massively dependent on Sophie Devine, because again, 2 games that she's won them all by herself. The 95 is her. The 95 is always her. So I'm not taking that away. But 7 from 6 and 9 from 6, that is batting side's fault. Uh, Mumbai, I was skeptical for the fact that we don't know about Haley Matthews. Nobody had any clue. They retained Haley Matthews. She was not fit, and she wasn't playing enough cricket. So that is where I felt Mumbai would still find a way because Harman, Amanjot, and there is enough quality around to put them at 3. And yeah, RCB, UP I expected to be the second best side after RCB, but RCB also it felt like, this is the first time in WPL where every side had a hole. That array, the bowling for RCB, we don't know how Lauren Bell will turn up because she couldn't play for UP. But let's see how she turns up for RCB now, and she's been a revelation. And we have Radha Yadav batting at 5. That doesn't look like a fair balance or a deep batting lineup. And they opened with Grace Harris, which meant the middle order was completely or gone. So that is a good part where you see all of the teams have had a few problems, but seniors have been able to fill it up by those big performances, whether it is Lauren Bell for RCB, along with handy contributions from Nadine and the others. And UP, they got performances from Lanning and the others, but nothing from Kiran. Usage, I feel, is more of a problem with UP as compared to other teams, but that's where I feel in terms of each side. So, yeah, DC, UP, and GG have swapped places for me. Fair play to Sophie for that.
Yeah, I think Sophie Devine has, single-handedly managed to change the fortunes for Gigi, on multiple occasions. And I think it was one of those buys that they'd really, really be happy about.
Just 2 crores, by the way. Just 2 CR.
Exactly. Yeah. And Avinash going on to say, क्या बोल रहे थे overseas dependent, झुक के रहना पड़ेगा, Divine के सामने DC को, showing how valuable she has been.
Yeah.
Again, and this was a reference to earlier where Nikhil was like, I don't want to be harsh, but Avinash saying, Nick's by harsh ho jao. मैं देखना चाहता हूँ because you're very balanced and objective with your perspective. So, I don't think you'd ever probably cross that line.
Yeah.
And also goes on to say, Avinash, that Jemima can't get away just because she's a first-time captain. Like, what about her batting, right? And similar for Shefali as well. Like, again, goes back to the point we were discussing earlier that you'd expect the senior pros to, sort of take that responsibility. I know when we say senior pros, you'd expect like players who are in their late 20s and 30s. But Jemmy and Shefali both have made their debut like way back, right, for India. So you'd sort of expect that accountability to come in from them.
I mean,
And
if I'm expecting accountability from Harleen Deol for being an India player. I would definitely expect a lot more from Jimmy and Shefali, and that is completely fair thing to do. And unfortunately, if you think about it, Harman is the only Indian player who's having a good WPL. Smithy's had a 90, but almost nothing apart from that. And you see, Jemmy's had one knock, Shefali's had one knock. But do you really expect your India players to have one good knock? So that's where I think the expectations, like, you want them to be the path breakers, that we will do the job for you. But unfortunately, cricket right now is very random. It feels scary. Renuka bowled 1 over yesterday. Arundhati has been on and off. She's been also injured, so I wouldn't put it down to her. Sri Charni and Harmanpreet are the only two people from the Indian team who are having a good time in the WPL. And that should both scare you and also please you at the same time.
Yeah, honestly, like after you did mention, the fact that you'd expect the India players, especially since now some of them are like World Cup winners,
Yeah.
single-handedly winning games for their franchise has to become the norm. And like besides Harman, we haven't really seen that come in for the other teams and players. Hopefully, that trend does change. Aman also goes on to say Gujarat needs to play Danny White Hodge at the top and Devine to play in the middle order. Hopefully, that change does come in at some point because it adds a lot of solidity to their middle order. But then Georgia Wareham would miss out, which again would probably mean different things for their bowling side of things. So again, time will tell if that's something they want to opt for. Shravan says Mithali Raj kept on saying that Gujarat Giants didn't utilize Rajeshwari well. Finally, they got to know how to use her, and I think the results are right for
Correct.
everyone to see. Hopefully, she
And who
continues
better,
to grow
sorry,
from strength.
who better than Mithali to point it out, having been a former GG staff member? So,
Exactly, and having played with Rajeshwari too, right, back in their
of course.
India days as well, having captained her, so that first-hand insight definitely helps. Avinash, I think, was bringing in an earlier point of umpiring ka excuse mat do. Please remember last GG versus DC game, umpire gave two LBW appeals out back-to-back balls against Fulmali, and it was missing a long way. That could have also probably affected Bharti Fulmali. Fair point. I mean, again, not making excuses for that, but
No,
then
but again, see, Avinash, I don't think it happened in the very last over, right? The last over vibes are always very, very different when the pressure is uh, completely on the batting side. In a chase, it plays out very, very differently. As opposed to while batting first, you are going to hit. There is nothing else to do. But in a chase, when the game is on the line, it becomes a completely different phenomenon. Again, it's not an excuse. It is just a thing that happened, which meant that they had to see again. To break it down more simply, why do we see so many dismissals after a break in cricket? Just generally, after a timeout, after a drinks break, because you lose that momentum of batting. You do that even in gully cricket, you will feel it. You play three good shots and then you wait for 5 minutes. Your next shot is not going to be as good as your previous few ones, because that is eventually what your mind is looking to be into that zone, and then trying to do the same thing again and again so that you get the result. But which is why when you get a big over, you see that big over going for 15, 20s, 25s. And when you see a good over, like what Sophie Devine did, you in your inner mind, your subconscious mind knows this is most likely to be a good over because it has started so well. So that is why it is important to have that momentum with you, because then you're not allowing any negative thoughts to come in. And sometimes you do not want to think too much as a batter. Just see ball react because you are in that zone. So again, it may not always be true, but I feel it definitely plays a part.
Yeah, definitely does play a part in dictating the momentum of the game, from that point onwards. And Shravan also asks us a question that I think teams who can hit more fours than sixes will post good totals in Vadodara.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this? I think it's a very interesting question there, Nikhil. Like, how would you address this?
A lovely observation, that because if you see, most teams have had, how many sixes we saw today? Just two yesterday, maybe something like that. So uh, the risk involved in trying to hit a six is so much more. And then you look at the shots that some of the Indian players have been playing and how they've been getting out. It just highlights the point even more that they're not reading it as well as you expect them to read. In terms of, you look at Hurley dismissals, you look at Shefali dismissals, they're all trying to hit sixes when it has not been easy to hit sixes. They just hit boundaries unless you have the power that Sophie Devine has, or somebody else has. And that is where I feel the next batch. Now, even Niki Prasad, Sneh Rana, I would want this to be taken up in the WPL setups as well, that we start focusing on power hitting in terms of firstly gaining that power. Now, we are built differently, we are born differently. So we cannot inbuilt have that power. Richa Ghosh has it, maybe Fulmali has it, but not everybody is going to have it. So that's where you want, okay, if a Divine hits a pull or if Gardner hits a pull, more likely to go for a six. If a Deanna Dottin has a half miss it, it's more likely to go for a six. But the same thing you can't say for Croatia. So again, these are all just small examples where people need to know what are their strengths, but at the same time, going forward deeper into the T20 setup, I expect this thing to be taken up by Indians as well, or just general cricket in general, where you give the lower order batters enough information about what to do to be better at power hitting and gaining some power, so that when you want to hit that four or six, if the surface is not allowing, yes, I think Shajin has a great point about how tied up Nikki got, because she learned from the last over where she gave width and Nikki was moving around, but now the pressure was on Nikki. And if you have that extra bit of power in you, you can either force the gap or be confident that I'll go over covers or I'll find a way to muscle it over the fielder. So again, these are all things that may feel untimely or uncalled for, but I feel eventually we'll have to get there. And of course, it definitely highlights the role of the specialist dead bowlers, because see, they know, and that is one of the most important aspects of end overs batting, that the bowler should not be able to know what you will do. Because the moment the bowler knows that, you are easier to plan. I'll give you a parallel example. Let's say Deepti Sharma. All she needs in her life right now is one reverse sweep, because she goes for mid wicket to long. That's her area. She pulls off one reverse sweep, which means that entire offside, which was empty, it will come into the game. But it's not an easy shot to master. But when will that happen? When she's told, when she's spoken to enough, and they feel that this one shot could really, and she's very good over covers, so that's not a problem. It is just that one area that she's not able to access, which means that is what people are doing. Just throw it wide. We know she's not going to go to third man. She'll only look to go to mid wicket, and it makes it easier to plan versus such kind of batters. So hopefully, with time, we will go down that route as well in terms of giving all these players that much more information, and then let them take a call. Okay, which is the new era that I want to explore, and when do you do this? Off your cricket season, when you are free, not playing much games, when you are maybe out of the team, take this time to just get better at some of these skills and then show them in the WPL.
Yeah, valid point. And I think Sportsfan also goes on to probably share this observation, or even just a question for us, that I don't think DC themselves have any faith on Nikki before this match. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been batting so low in that batting order. Would they promote her now? I think she's given enough reasons that she can be promoted, but I don't know what it
Okay.
means for the rest of the batting and how they will sort of slot her in, because does it mean Marizan Kaap is batting lower, or how it's going to play in? But Nikhil, again, do you agree with this, that the faith part, because I mean, the fact they retained her itself showed that there was faith, but they just haven't been able to crack the code of getting her to bat in the right position, which is again right down to the team combination itself.
Team combination auction strategy. Why are you then picking 6 top order batters? What's the point of picking so many top order batters in your 11, where almost everybody feels that, "Arey, I want to open, I want to open." Everybody wants to open, but where is the spot? And again, the point about Lizelle. See, there is a reason I have always been very high on. Alisa Haley is great, but she's a batter who's inconsistent. If Alisa Haley can't be relied on, and you're saying Lizelle Lee can be, I have a house to sell. It's how they say, right? I have so many more things to sell to you, because I know you will buy them very easily. Because where is the spot? You can't drop Laura. You can't drop Jemmy. You're not going to drop Shefali. If you drop Lizelle Lee, you'll have to play Tanya Bhatia. What was your squad construction? How are you thinking about this? Have you thought this through? So it just tells you how we can all sometimes be very fixated with certain ideas, and when they don't come up, we have to be happy to pivot. This is what Gigi did, right? Danny White came in, didn't get going, she felt ill. We don't know what is true or false, but Divine, she played at the middle order, she came good. She went to the top of the order, she's still playing fine. Why? Role clarity. It's very clear what her role is, and she's able to adapt because she's that experienced. Now, maybe they put the eggs in the basket of, okay, Laura is experienced, Jamie is experienced, they'll find a way. But now they haven't. Do you have an option? Right now, you don't.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those cases where Nikki would be happy that at least she's getting the exposure and the match time. If not, at her preferred batting position, but at least something is better than nothing. I don't know how else to, sort of look at it, especially for a lot of these young players, right, who are sort of trying to make a mark for themselves. And the few opportunities they get, they'll have to make the most of it. Sportsman also goes on to say that if Anushka wasn't injured, for those few matches, would Gigi have done better? For sure, right? The slump that they had, the three consecutive losses they faced. I mean, one of the common trends was that she wasn't a part of the playing 11, was just coming back from injury, so it was going to be tough. But now you see, right, Gujarat is peaking, which largely can be attributed to performances coming in that way. So a valid
Yeah.
observation there.
Yeah.
And another question here is, and what's up with Fulmari, right? After she got selected for Team India, like her performances seem to have taken a dip. Again, I think it's just a case of cricket being a funny game, right? You can't really predict when you just, will hit like a purple patch, score runs for fun, and then suddenly you find yourself in a very weird slump.
Yeah.
But again, doesn't take away from the kind of player she is. And
No, no,
I think, yeah, as
completely.
optimistic fans, we would just hope, right, she gets back to form.
Yeah, and hopefully she can catch better. She dropped another catch yesterday. Sorry, but that number is increasingly growing every single day in the WPL, which you don't want to happen. And she's the previous game she was run out. Sophie Devine uploaded Full Mali on Amazon and just sold her. Okay, we want to, and then, oh, where are you going? Go back, go back, go back. That's not how it's going to help. Full Mali, again, she's coming at a spot which is very difficult to execute as well. You're not always going to get A, the best of services, B, the best of starts. So you are either going to be mundi niche karke, tuk tuk karke, let's first make a game and then hit. Otherwise, just come in and hit, which means you could get our very first ball. So almost a thankless job. But as we just spoke about it a while back, once you are picked, you want to continue to show all this I can do. This I can do. I can finish this. I can do this. So hopefully that is what happened. That is what will happen for her in the upcoming games.
Yeah, honestly, that she can really, turn around her fortunes and, continue to deliver, right? Gigi could really benefit from that late order impetus coming from her
Yeah.
bat. Avinash also going on to ask us, like, Sophie Devine at 2 CR versus Marizan Kaap at 2.2 CR, like, comparison, right? In context of this WPL, please. I think it's a tough one, right? Because
Is it?
I think a lot of people would have felt, that Marizan Kaap is the answer to all of DC's questions. But then she's had quite the interesting season, like with the bat, very lackluster, but with the ball, doing her thing, albeit, slightly expensive. But Sophie Devine, right, has turned a entire new chapter in her already glorious career, having probably what is, in your own words, her best WPL season ever.
I think we have got enough signs that we should not doubt New Zealand players at all. We should just shut up and just stay. New Zealand ki hai, badhiya karegi. Just leave it at that. These few years are theirs, and I don't know what people expect from Marizan Cup, but now teams also know what she's going to bring to the table. We spoke about similarly for Shabnam Ismail, where you play her out. Sophie Devine couldn't play her out, but they did not give her the second wicket. And that is what is important, that you don't give Marizan Cup the second, because usually when you associate Marizan Cup, yes, plenty of dot balls, she's getting good, she's keeping people quiet, but does she have the support? She had Chika Pandey last year. She had more options to turn to last year in terms of Meg Lanning as a captain, and how big a miss Meg Lanning, the captain, has been for this setup. Because again, you can say you can look at UP and say that, oh, kuch farak to nahi pad raha, but maybe it clicked. And again, sometimes it clicks after a season. So at this point of time, Sophie Devine is winning this hands down. Again, because the contribution with the bat, Sophie Devine has been far more impactful in whatever little she's done, in win or in a loss. So a tough pill to swallow for Marizan. Hopefully, maybe this angers her and we can see the beast version of her very soon.
Yeah, and I think as fans and onlookers, we will definitely not complain,
Yeah,
seeing that
chaos.
beast version.
Chaos.
Yeah, and also, like, this is just this question coming in from unknown nobody. Amy Jones replaces Litchfield. That means UP's experiment with Shweta's keeping, sort of failed. Nikhil, your thoughts on this because we can probably pivot the discussion to tomorrow's match itself, right? RCB versus UP. The points table is still so exciting. I love the word chaos that you use, right? Because that's literally how the business end is looking at. We have three matches, five teams still in contention. I mean, RCB's already registered their place, but you still have two spots up for grabs. But again, just your thoughts on RCB versus UP Warriors and this experiment of Shweta Sehrawat.
Yeah, I don't know if the experiment is failed, but if Amy Jones comes in, maybe she definitely keeps, and maybe she opens with Meg. I don't know. Or you would want Shweta to open, which is again sometimes just tells you how difficult it is to crack your best 11 for a new setup. And one of those challenges of starting from the scratch is if your experiments don't work, people are going to go after you that, oh, so much name, so much name, so much name, and this is your game. But Kiran Navgera, I felt bad for her when she swiped at Marizan Cup and got out. But post that, she's just found horrible ways to get out. She's missed the Nicola Carey full toss. She's gotten by mistakenly stumped. Who gets by mistakenly stumped by a ball down the leg side? Meg Lanning got out because the ball went off her body onto the stumps. And you get two of those dismissals in the same game. So maybe this isn't uh, that wasn't meant to be in that sense, but I don't know if the experiment with Shweta has failed, and I'm very interested to see how Amy Jones goes about it because she's had good success in a slightly longer format, not this one. So I'm very keen to see how where she's batting, how she's paired up. Does it mean Shweta goes up top? You can't put Deepthi up top because you do not bowl. Meg Lanning is doing enough for the world in UP to play a lot of dot balls. Sorry, Meg Lanning, no puns. I'm very sorry to getting that. Maybe this angers you and she bat at a strike rate of 300. But sorry, we don't want too many dot balls. But I don't know. I think the that opening spot is open for UP to try. There aren't too many other options now. And Litchfield not being at 3, which means maybe Dipti comes in at 3. I think I don't think it's a straightforward answer. Do you have an answer in terms of how you would have the lineup come in, or maybe Hurlin bats at 3?
I think, Nikhil, this is one of those puzzles that honestly only UP Warriors can solve, right? The fact that they first of all went into the auction with a clean slate approach, just wanting to retain Shweta and building a squad around her, you'd expect like more responsibility being given to her. And that's why I sort of agree with sports fans' comment here too, right? About UP retaining Shweta, you play her in the middle order. I think, yeah, they should probably just release her, right? Because if you're not using her to the best
Nice.
of her capabilities at the top, you're bringing her in later and you expect her to be a keeper as well. I think it reflects a lot on UP's like auction strategy and not getting that right. But now that they've already made the kind of mistakes they've made, how do they sort of optimize, right, for this situation where they're going to be missing someone like Phoebe Litchfield? Probably because it's again the business end of the tournament. You just have probably what, like two matches still left. I think they're playing also after a massive gap, right? I think they're
Yeah.
still going to stick to Meg and Kiran to probably open and like do the job for them. Have probably Harleen come in at 3, and you will see like a little bit of a like rejig in that batting. At least that's how I see it play for UP. Otherwise, it might be difficult. I think even Parvati just going on to add this point of, hey, that's a new name I see. Hi there. Thank you so much for joining us in. I see why they went with Jones, though. She was decent for Melbourne Stars. I think UP will, open with Jones. Very, very interesting experiment if that happens. I think Amy Jones, the way she has just reinvented herself, right, with her batting, just maybe, makes her a very interesting prospect in that regard. Avinash being very I don't know what here. No, they should retain Shweta and just tear up the contract of Navgire. I think in our last stream as well, he did mention how her fluctuating fortunes haven't necessarily meant, good things for UP Warriors there. I think there was one more comment that I did want to take up. Oh yeah, Shravan actually going on to say that picking Ball instead of Healy is a little trick missed by RCB is what I feel. Your thoughts, please. Okay, now that's a very interesting comparison. I think every single time Alisa Healy is injured for the Aussie setup, you have Georgia Ball coming in. Alisa Healy goes unsold. This WPL Georgia Ball gets picked by RCB there. But again, Nikhil, do you think it's a like for like comparison, or like somewhere you think like no, maybe like Alisa Healy has been inconsistent, injury prone also, probably at the fag end of her career. And for RCB, an investment in Georgia Ball felt more valid.
Yeah, I mean, see, it depends on what you're looking for. If you want a high intent opener, maybe yes. But Smriti can do that all by herself. All she needs is a stable opener at the other end. Is Hilly that stable opener? No. Which is why I don't agree with Grace Harris opening. And I want Georgia Ball to open because she is that stable opener that will give her that confidence that you please go at the rate that you want to. I will ensure that we are going at a decent rate. So again, it's a selective way. You can build your team differently. I will build my team differently. And which is why for UP, the query about Shweta, I mean, it's a pre-auction call. And if you doubt your pre-auction call, there is nothing to go by. Because if you don't trust your own gut feel, then there is no point playing cricket because what else is then left for you? And unfortunately, as as it may sound, there aren't too many keepers who are great in women's cricket. I looked up Amy Jones's numbers for Melbourne Stars as well. Her strike rate in 11 innings was 125, which is more than her career strike rate of 160. So I think the change is coming in. So she was consistent in terms of the runs that she scored. Again, I don't know how we feel about consistency because she averaged 23. Again, these are different numbers and you have to look at them very differently. But maybe this is where the change is coming, where you want to get a particular type of batter who is able to counter or partner the other person better. I think that is where the pairing of Kiran and Meg Lanning is good. But the problem is Kiran's rotten luck, and you cannot do anything about it. So that's where Shefali and Meglani worked, because if Meglani could play two dot balls, Shefali could make those, ensure कि उसके end से दो दिन boundary आ जाए, which could cover up those dot balls that Meg is playing. So I think it's the complementary batting that UP have missed, and otherwise also, I would not want to go after a team who is starting from a scratch after just 5 games because I feel too early. And there are so many things to be done. You are retiring people out and you're still getting scolded for doing the right thing. So I think there is time, but I like the optimism that Parvati has because UP are going to need that and a lot more coming against Lauren Bell because that is the first check that UP have to take. Do not give wickets to Lauren Bell. Once that happens, then you are into the game and then you see what is going to happen. And of course, with the ball, Sophie hasn't had the impact that you expect her to have. Deepthi hasn't bowled out. This is not, this is new territory. This is cricket in 2026. You don't know what is happening there. Also, as you know, sports fan says, Shikha, you expect more. I think she's bowled decently, but she hasn't got the numbers. But if I then compare her to Renuka Singh Thakur, I would always pick Shikha Pandey. But that is me. I may be biased.
Oh, you could be biased, huh, Nikhil? Because Avinash also goes on to say here that
It's not for UP.
because he knows I think you're a UP Warriors fan too. He's like, Baki panelists ne to bata diya ki UP is not going to make it, but like he expects some responsibility from you because RCB versus UP Warriors, this is like the table toppers taking on, the wooden spoon holders, so to say. Nikhil, like, what is your prediction? RCB is like on a 2-match losing streak, and UP Warriors again on their day can just turn up and pull off something magical. So, like, how do you see this play out?
4 good days, UP. 4 good days. I don't have a wooden spoon here. I'm just touching wood and hoping you give the wooden spoon to Delhi. Ask them to preserve it. 4 good days. Let's try and predict player of the match for all 4 of them. Meg Lanning to win 1. So
I think Nikhil, we lost your audio there for a minute. Yeah.
because even cricketing gods couldn't hear me saying Kiran Navgire can win a player of the match in this form. But Meg Lanning, Sophia Cliston, Deepti Sharma, Kiran Navgire. 4 games, 4 player of the matches. We'll speak after the season.
Absolutely optimistic stuff there coming in from Nikhil, because this is the UP Warriors team that hasn't played since 22nd January. It, I think, reflects more on like just the scheduling from the administrators and like the organizers itself. But Nikhil, for your sake, we will hope that UP Warriors can pull off something incredible. And almost as we reach the end of our discussion, too, let's just take a last few comments. Shravan goes on to say, out of the 17 games, 7 to 8 games, going to the final over shows the growing quality of this tournament, right? The fact that there is just 3 matches left in this group stage, all 5 teams, still wanting to prove a point, 2 spots still up for grabs. Nikhil, I think it would again be fair on my part to ask a question that I had, but Aman also asks you, but who are the top 3 according to you? Like, I think this was something we did talk about last time around too, but every single match, like something or the other is changing. RCB has anyway sealed their place. Who are your other 2 picks?
I'll first name Gujarat because Sophie Devine. I'm abhi ho gaya. Sophie Devine, but I'm not going to challenge destiny. So RCB ke pehle bhi Gujarat because don't get me wrong, I think Gujarat could be playing the final and be the first team to do that. So if I'm getting UP to win the last game, which means Gujarat can go and be the top spot. So Gujarat first, RCB second. I think the third place will come down to Mumbai and UP. And maybe that is where I feel. And UP have 2 games. That's where the margin lies with them, that they can manufacture a way to go past Mumbai, and they've already beaten Mumbai twice, which means that battle is out of the way. It will not be a knockout. So if Mumbai and UP are to face, who are Mumbai playing? Mumbai are playing, UP are playing RCB for sure, and they are going to play DC again, if I'm not wrong. Who are the 2 teams that Mumbai have to play? Mumbai have one
Uh,
game left, right?
yeah, the one game versus Gujarat on Friday.
Again, if Gujarat are to top the table, they have to beat MI, which means they go on 10 and they become the first finalist. So that happens, but that still means that UP will need to win both of those games, because right now MI is at 6 and UP is at 4. For them to go past MI, they have to win both those games. So hopefully UP will do that, and they will eventually be the third team to qualify. And then they will beat whoever they face in the next 2 games, and then they win the match. I क्या करना है यार, पॉजिटिव नेगेटिव बोल के छोड़ो, यूपी को जिताओ डायरेक्ट.
हाँ, ये
Story for
देखो.
the ages.
And Sportsman going on to say that I feel the current top
Possible.
3 will stay as it is. I mean, in all likelihood, it could be the case,
Possible.
right? RCB and GG have really made a case for themselves, and they're peaking at the right time, especially GG. But that third team, right? Again, it's going to be very, very interesting, and that's sort of a mouth-watering clash.
Yeah.
For that final spot. But yeah, folks, I think that pretty much does conclude our very lengthy, conversation about.
How much?
I
Sorry,
think
sorry.
just
How much have we been trying to keep it to 35-40 minutes?
in 3 attempts,
Not
we have been
happening.
largely unsuccessful. So I'd say,
Yeah, but I think
just that.
Shravan has a great point, which I think I'd want you to first touch upon. What do you feel about it?
The question again, let me just probably read it out and get the gist. Why RCB batting is still figuring out on how to play on Vadodara. Also, they got 2 different pitches which behave differently. Is that confusing on their approach to reach a good total? Valid question. I think with RCB, their batting was always circumspect, right? The fact that Smriti Mandana has probably not been in the best of the runs was always going to be a cause for concern. Grace Harris started the season well. Suddenly, we see a decline in her form again, right? You would expect her to sort of deliver the goods. I think pre-season too, right? A lot of us were vouching for having Georgia Ball open with Smriti and have Grace come in the middle order, because that middle order again looks extremely, extremely fragile. And yeah, I think probably a mix of these factors itself, right? You can't just put the entire onus of the batting on, say, someone like a Dylan Hemlata or a Gautami Naik. There's been a bit of like back and forth there too. And to again just put the onus entirely on Richa Ghosh and Nadine de Klerk to, take you safely to the shore is just putting too much responsibility again on them. So for RCB, again, in the first 5 matches, it didn't come glaring, because every match you had a new match winner. As optimistic RCB fans were like, yeah, it's good to see a new match winner every single time. But then again, right, you'd sort of want the senior pros or the people who you expect to win your games to do that on a regular basis, and not always have match winners do that. So I think, Shravan, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but then on Vadodara, again, like the bounce has been really low. All the batters have
Yeah.
been taking time to adjust. Again, it's not just a
Right.
case for RCB, but that has been the case, right? And that adjustment, I think, from Navi Mumbai, which was like a batting paradise, to
Yes.
Vadodara, which has proven to be that much of a challenge, I think has had its effect, I think, on RCB.
You
Your
can
thoughts,
just
Nikhil?
ask DC. You can just ask DC. They struggled to get that tempo right in terms of who goes first, and that's where again just highlights what, and which is why I feel it will be an open tournament, and that is what you want it to be. That on any given day, any team can beat anyone, And sometimes it may not reflect the best of qualities, but it just tells you how uh, maybe it is a time from cricket as well, that I've been saying this in almost every single tournament, that you look at every single ICC tournament that has happened. I don't think the best teams have won. Didn't happen in 2023. Did not happen in 2024. 30 from 30 said nobody loses by. South Africa were destined to lose and they lost. WTC final. Was South Africa the better team as compared to Australia? The jury is out for that, but they won on that day. And then you go back to the World Cup. India had their flaws. They looked cooked when Nadine did what she did, but they still eventually went on to win. So I feel it is a sign of times where it is okay to be imperfect. It's okay to have flaws. But as Neha rightly pointed out, if you can get one of those experienced players to set the game up, you will get enough support to close it up. And that's where I feel even the WPL will go, that all, if you see, all teams are hoping for that senior player to click. Mumbai are hoping that yeah, Hilly Matthews will finally click and NSB will get good support. Delhi are hoping that Shefali and Lizelle will click, so that RCB are hoping that Grace Harris will click. So you see the pattern is there for every single team. GG are hoping that Divine will click. So it's not too different. It is just that whoever is clicking on that day is winning. So sometimes you just have to accept the randomness, and maybe the sign of things is that Vadodara is getting settled as a place, because you see the scores are going up. So maybe people will bat differently, and I will not be surprised that we start to see a few more pinch hitters being sent up, just to create my favorite word, chaos in the power play.
Yeah, Nikhil, I think absolutely valid points there. And probably the hallmark of a good team is, like having different match winners set up and being
Yeah.
imperfect, right? En route to winning the title. And I think this WPL will probably see that
Mm.
happening. And yeah, as I think a proper conclusion for this would be hope is the rope, right? That swings us through life. So let's hope that our teams do really well. And the tantalizing finish that we've been waiting for, really does end up happening in the WPL. But yeah, folks, that again does conclude our discussion. Nikhil, thank you so much for, coming
Thank
on
you.
board. I know every single time I tell you that it's going to be like a 20, 30-minute conversation, but we end up speaking our lungs out for more than an hour. And I obviously, couldn't imagine doing this with anyone else but you. So thank you so much for joining me and bringing
Thank
your
you.
energy and good vibes as always. To all the folks who joined us in the live chat, thank you so much for, keeping
Thank
the
you.
comments coming. Really, really added like so much value to our discussion. The WPL is not done, and we will continue to do morning shows like this. So please join us there too. But yeah, folks, until then, bye, take care, and let's keep enjoying the WPL. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers. Happy chaos.